Hi, I'm Hans and welcome to Port-La Nouvelle, where we harbor Occitanie's energy transition.
Port-La Nouvelle is France's first port to operate as a public-private partnership. This unique model has paved the way for a massive redevelopment designed specifically to support the Occitanie region's energy transition and position the port at the center of emerging clean energy value chains. The port now supports floating offshore wind projects and is diversifying into non-petroleum liquids such as biofuels and synthetic fuels. It will also be home to France's largest renewable hydrogen production unit, the HyDOC project, with the first 20 megawatt phase set for commissioning in 2026. Enlit On The Road visited Port-La Nouvelle to explore how this historic gateway is reinventing itself in a new energy era.
Hans, thank you for welcoming Enlit On The Road to Port-La Nouvelle. What makes this port unique in terms of the region's energy transition?
I think when we started with the concept of creating this brand new deepwater port, we tried to anticipate a little bit what will be the flows of tomorrow and also what will be the role of a port tomorrow, not today. And that's where we saw that there is a big need for offshore floating wind in the Mediterranean. France needs ports for that. So that's why one part of the port was designed for that. Secondly, we also see in the liquid bulk that there is a transition in the type of demand of the type of fuel that we will need today and also tomorrow. So that's why we are looking at handling still the flows that exist today, so fossil fuel, but slowly transitioning to handling other types of products like CO2, hydrogen, and receiving them here in Port-La Nouvelle and distributing them from here into the rest of Europe.
You mentioned floating offshore wind. You have two projects here. Tell us about those.
So we were happy to welcome two projects last year, where we did, for one project, the integration of 3 turbines on a floater that was produced in Marseille. And then for the other project of ALMet, we did production of the 3 floaters and the integration in the port. I think for us it was a unique project. Nobody has ever done this many floaters integration at the same time, and never that kind of size. So we did 6 turbines of 10 megawatt, who successfully were installed in the sea at the end of last year.
I can imagine that with that came a lot of unique challenges. How did you overcome them?
Well, I think first everybody who's working in the ecosystem, the developers, the pilots, the harbor master, us, the logistics operator like Euroports, all of them have been preparing very well. And nevertheless, it's a brand new industry. So every day something new pops up, a new challenge comes ahead. And I think what really made the difference was the willingness from people to go the extra mile and turn these 2 projects into a success. So for me, it's really the human factor that contributed to the success of the 2 projects.
Do you see that floating offshore wind will eventually play an even greater role in the Mediterranean?
Well, we were very happy to see that PPE3 sorted earlier this year. And we were very happy to see that they announced already R6, which was already announced, but that they will also make a decision on who will win Appel d'Offres 9 and Appel d'Offres number 10, which will for us be very important because it adds a significant amount of windmills where we want to play a key role in the next decade.
Hans, it's not only about floating offshore wind, it's also about hydrogen.
It's correct. We cannot just put all eggs in one basket. We need to diversify risk. In the end, it's still the country that is awarding the project for the offshore wind. So there is a clear path for us that we want to diversify towards dry bulk, but more the dry bulk of tomorrow, but especially also on the liquid bulk, where we see that Europe will need a lot of hydrogen in the future, and that's where we really want to play a key role, becoming an entry port for hydrogen and distribution into the European network.
What infrastructure is needed for you to play this role effectively when it comes to renewable fuels, CO2 handling, hydrogen?
Well, what is important to understand is that this type of change does not happen overnight. You do not one day wake up and say, now I'm going to use hydrogen in my entire steel factory. So therefore, it's important that you have a transition. One of the key factors for us is that we currently have the largest hydrogen factory of France investing in the port. They will be operational June 2026. And that will allow us to start distributing hydrogen into the French market and start building the market, building the consumers. At a second stage, we would like to play a role in the import of hydrogen, mainly coming from Northern Africa, for instance, because Europe is not capable of producing all its hydrogen demand in the future. And then it will be key that we're linked to the distribution infrastructure. So it mainly means that we need to be connected to a pipeline network that is distributing hydrogen throughout Europe, and similarly that can distribute CO2 or can bring CO2 to the port.
What is your vision for the future of the port?
Well, I think it will be important for us to find a balance between going fast in terms of development and finding the right partners, customers, to do this development with. So we only have one chance to lease out the space that we have. So therefore we need to find partners that have a vision that is aligned with ours, as well as the vision of the region, and develop a port like this that is contributing today, but also to the development of tomorrow.
This is France's first public-private port. How did you get here?
Well, the port of Port-La Nouvelle exists already many decades. And it used to be always a port with a shallow draft. So actually around 2010, the region realized that either the port was slowly going to die off, or they need to find a new way to develop the port. So that's where the ambition came, to develop a port that will support the energy transition. And in order to do all those investments, they realized they could not take them on alone. And that's where they looked for private partners. So now we're the first French port that is operated by public-private partnership, 51% private and 49% public. And it's also the private partners that helped with the development, the operations, and the commercialization of the port.
Surely, though, it is challenging to balance the traditional cargo activities of a port and your future decarbonisation goals.
It's correct, and that's where we need to find a balance. It's same like what I said. You cannot decide overnight that you change your factory. It's the same that we know in the port. Okay, we have existing flows, the traditional port flows that we still can handle today, and gradually transition to the products of tomorrow, allowing us to already pay back the investment, start to create some income, and at the same time can anticipate, take the necessary actions to welcome also the product of tomorrow.
Hans, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. For more insights, join the Enlit community.